Welcome to Main Street Mavericks, celebrating conversations with exceptional Main Street businesses who serve friends and neighbors in your community. Here's your host, Joel Helfer.
This is Joel Helfer with another episode of Main Street Mavericks Radio. Welcome to the show, and happy holidays, because this is holiday week, and we're going to have a joint holiday week of Christmas and Hanukkah on the same weekend. So everybody listening to the show, I wish you a happy and healthy holiday and a joyous new year. Today we have a very special guest. His name is Matt Kinzelberg. Matt is the owner and president of Kinzelberg Consulting, LLC. It's operated by him, and Matt has an interesting background. Since Matt was in kindergarten, he would help fix computers around the classroom and amaze his teachers at his natural technical ability. Over the years, he has learned the expanding technology field as it is today. His goal is to help achieve the information technology needs of families, professionals, individuals, and small businesses. Matt has a strong relationship with the LA community where he lives. He graduated from Pitzer College, is a former employee of the Los Angeles Dodgers. He is a Microsoft and Apple certified professional. It's a pleasure to have you on the show, Matt. Welcome to Main Street Mavericks. Good afternoon.
Thanks so much, Joel. I really appreciate you having me on the show.
Oh, it's a pleasure. And this is a topic near and dear to my heart because, as we were talking before, I come from the generation before computers existed. So we learned computer technology out of self-defense.
Yeah, I know. You kind of got to change with the times and learn new things that come up in our society. And this is one that has grown, through the roofs over the last couple of years.
Oh, it's amazing because back in the day, the only way to do business was either to go to a payphone, go to a telephone, or see someone in person. And now the world has completely changed. Let me ask you a question. What is the cloud? What is that all about?
So the cloud, I get a lot of questions about what the cloud is. Where's the cloud? Is it up in the sky? And, the basic terminology of the cloud, it's just a new word for a server. So all the big players in tech have their own cloud, Apple, Google, Amazon. And it's really, if you want to be real practical, it's a physical location where all of your data is stored in large rooms around the world. And there's just racks and racks of these servers all around the world. It's not just floating up in the air and, clouds are, in our reality shifting. It's not like that. It's just a new terminology so people can try to understand that. But if you ever wonder why you can access, your Gmail account from anywhere in the world, it's because it's stored on Google servers. So if I go over to Italy and I log into my Gmail account, I'm technically logging into Google servers. And the reason why they've kind of grown in popularity over the last, 10 years or so is because the cost to store data have gone drastically, and the way they operate has been much more reliable. So that's like a kind of a brief synopsis of what a cloud is.
That's interesting. One of the things I know, and pardon me if I don't have the same technical expertise as you do, but these servers are stored in very large warehouses all over the country, all over the world. Is that correct?
Mm-hmm. Yep, exactly. So if you go to Google and you type in, a large storage room and you go to the image section, you'll just see images of these from floor to ceiling, just massive amounts of computers, and all of those computers have your data on there.
And they don't need very many people to operate them. Is that correct?
Well, they still do, but it's not as much as it used to be. So, like if you look back where, Mark Cuban, he started broadcast.com and he had his own server room. Like his own company had his own server room because that was the only way that you could do it back then. And it was really time consuming. It was very costly to operate that. But now the costs have gone down and the operation efficiency has gone up. So there's still people involved, but it's not as much as it used to be.
Well, that's interesting. One of the things you talk about efficiency, and one of the biggest problems that people have is when they turn on their computer, they think everything is instantaneous. And
yeah.
people have lost their patience. But I find from time to time that the computer runs really slow, particularly when you're on the phone talking to someone and you're trying to retrieve an email or some information to continue the conversation. Why are computers so slow, and what can you do to speed them up?
Sure. Yeah. I mean, we live in a society today where we want things done yesterday because we've trained our brains to operate in that way. I mean, you got Uber, you can get a car in 2 minutes, and so when your computer's slow, you can get a little agitated. And I've been in that same boat. There's really two main kind of areas of why your computer may be slow. So one, it may be your computer, or two, it may be your internet speed, and they operate completely differently. So your internet speed is dependent on your internet provider. So, if it's Verizon or Time Warner, or now they're called Spectrum, who your provider is and what kind of service are they giving you. So if you're having trouble streaming Netflix or downloading large files, it's your internet speed. So if we remember 20 years ago, when I was much younger and I was still learning this stuff, it was the dial-up. So you had to dial in to get on the internet, and then it transitioned from there to DSL, and now it's cable, high speed, FiOS. There's a lot of terminology of what we're at right now at a large scale. So that's the first thing. You want to make sure that your internet speed is now at the cable, high speed, or FiOS level, because there's so much data being transferred that you really want to shift away from DSL if you're on that. And then the other thing is if your computer's slow, which if you have the internet up and running, everything's good. So it could be slow because you have too many programs running at once. You don't have a solid-state hard drive. So solid-state hard drives are pretty new to the market, and they're about 10 times faster than a traditional hard drive. The other reason why you might be a little slow is you might not have enough RAM in your computer, or your computer just may be a little too old. And I recommend that every 2 to 4 years you get a new machine. I know it seems like a lot, but technology changes really quickly, and it's pretty important to keep up with that stuff.
Yeah, and is it possible that even the manufacturers have a little planned obsolescence built into their machines to keep
sure.
up?
Yeah. I mean, look, you get a new iPhone, 1 year, and then a year and a half later, it's like things aren't going to work the right way. And part of it is planned obsolescence, but also it is truly technology. I mean, we're going through a huge shift in the way society works, and things move extremely quickly in technology. So you do have to kind of keep up with the hardware, or else, you might come into a problem where certain things will not work on your computer.
I know one of the most amazing things to me is technology has reached the point where now this interview that we're recording can be listened very easily on your phone, and you can get it on demand at any time of the day or night that you want on these platforms like iHeartRadio and Spreaker that we have. It's really cool.
Pretty amazing where we are right now.
Let me ask you, you're very unique in your approach to helping people with their computer problems. I understand you do everything virtually where you can help people solve problems anywhere in the country, and you're sitting at a desk with a computer helping them solve their problems. How do you do that?
So yeah, that by itself is a new revolution. It's a remote access. So basically, I guide a client to download a program. The program I use for remote access is called TeamViewer. They've been around for a little over 10 years, and the client has to give me an access code and a password, and then I log onto their system, and it's like I'm sitting right in front of the computer, and I have full control of the computer. And this technology is only about 10 years old. You used to have to go to take your computer to the shop or have someone come over, and it could really keep you got to wait for your computer to be fixed. You got to wait for someone to come over. But now I can hop on in literally 5 to 10 seconds, see what the problem is, solve the problem, and then you're off doing whatever you got to do. So it saves you time. Yeah, it saves you time and money, and I think those are two things that we all would like to have as much as we can.
Well, that's something that's great. I know, because in the past you either had to take your computer to Best Buy or somebody like that, or someone actually had to physically come to your office and sit down and try to solve the problems, whatever they were. This sounds a lot better.
Oh, yeah, and you can sit in the comfort of your home. Everything you do now, you order everything on Amazon, you stream, movies, so this is kind of the trend where everyone just wants the convenience of everything to kind of come to them, and that's the service that I provide. I basically go to you, and you don't have to go anywhere.
How long have you been doing it?
Well, I've been doing this type of work since I was in high school. So high school, during the summers, I would go around town and, help people out here and there. But when I was in high school, this technology didn't even exist. So, and that's not that long ago. It was 15 years. But I've always been the kid that took computers apart when I was really young and always wanted to learn how they operated and things like that. So this is just, it's kind of what I love to do.
That sounds great. Let me ask you a question. What do you think are some of the biggest misconceptions people have about using a computer? Because I know when you turn it on, you have a basic understanding of how it works, but there's some things that people just don't take into account. What are some of them?
Sure. I mean, when you turn a computer on, there are so many things that are going on in the background that to the naked eye you would never even notice. I mean, you got the power supply that's giving power to the whole computer. You got your hard drive starting up. You have your processor, which is the brain of the computer. You've got your RAM, so all your programs can run smoothly. There's all these components. It's like a car. When we go into a car, we just push now we just push the button because a lot of cars are just wireless like that. But there's so many things underneath the hood that have to operate correctly for it to actually, come to fruition. And it's the same thing with a computer. For example, if you have a wireless mouse or keyboard, most likely that keyboard or mouse is connected via Bluetooth. And so there's a little chip in your computer, if you have a laptop or even a desktop, that is just built in there to have your mouse or keyboard, connect. And so all of these little components, they all add up. If your Wi-Fi card isn't working, you can't get online.
Right.
So it's a laundry list of things, and most people don't need to know the nitty-gritty details, but you definitely will notice if something doesn't work. That's for sure.
And it never fails at the last minute when you're watching it. When you want something to work on your computer, it does work. Like yesterday, I was watching the Green Bay Packers-Bears game on
yeah.
on DirecTV, and with a minute to go, the game is tied, right? So Green Bay gets the ball, and they start marching down the field, and then my computer goes down.
Oh, my gosh.
So I have to run into the family room and turn on the TV to watch the last 30 seconds of the game. That was hilarious. The Bears sent a field goal, but I couldn't believe it. I'm watching this whole game for 2 hours.
Yeah.
And
then the last little bit, it just goes. Oh my gosh. Yeah. Well, I feel that frustration. That can be very frustrating.
That happens. Let me ask you a question.
Sure.
If I have a virus on my computer, what do I do to solve it?
So viruses come in all different shapes and sizes and forms and stuff. And what I would really recommend doing is calling someone like myself. Unless you are, proficient at it and know what's kind of going on, don't try to do it yourself, because it could be very damaging to your computer and your files. And I always recommend to have an antivirus program on your computer. And this is another kind of, I don't want to say misconception, but it's just good to be alert on knowing who your emails are coming from, and not opening them, and knowing what kind of attachments you're opening. There's a lot of spam going around these days, and just be extra careful about clicking on websites or anything you do on your computer. And here's a perfect example is last week Yahoo had a breach of 1 billion accounts.
Wow.
And some people, it's just, crazy that, a tech giant like Yahoo could be breached, but that's kind of the world we live in now. And some of my clients couldn't access their accounts. And so one client called me, and she said she had someone reach out to her and said for $250, they would be able to put her account back. And that's a total scam, because there's only one company that can actually, reactivate her account, and that's Yahoo. So you just got to be really careful about, what you're clicking on and stuff like that. And these companies, these guys that are scammers, they look very legitimate. They do a logo that looks like it's from Dell or Microsoft or Apple, and they do, everything right. So if you don't know what's going on, you give someone like myself a call. And even the guys, there's a lot of scammers like that pretend they know about computers, and they're in India, or they're calling from another country. And I'm not saying that those guys, there's some guys over there that are great, but there's a lot of people over there that know people in the US that they're not very familiar with it, and they'll take advantage of people like that.
I know I've got antivirus equipment on my computer, and it's recommended every once in a while I scan my computer. How often do you need to do that?
You can do an automatic scan. So it's set up like weekly.
Right.
And it just scans in the background. And which one do you have?
I've got Panda.
Panda, okay.
That's
I haven't heard of that
came with
one.
the computer system.
Okay. But most of them, they come with, you can set it up automatically once a week. And they also are always kind of running in the background. Mm-hmm. So if something does happen, then it will be, alert you basically. And even, those programs you have to keep up to date, because what happens is all the guys that are creating all these viruses, these bad people, they create a new virus, and then the antivirus program has to update their software because they have to fight the new viruses. It's kind of like a new, what's the movie like Batman? They have the serum, and they have to get, the thing that cures it. You know what I mean? You always got to stay up to date, or else you might get, you might get a virus. So
which antivirus system do you recommend?
The big players in the market is Norton and McAfee. There's also Kaspersky. There's Avast for Mac. And there's a big misconception that Mac users won't get a virus. That is not true. Mac users can definitely get a virus. The reason why I don't know why people believe that, but if you look at the global market share of computers in total, PCs dominate the market by many, many, many times, because businesses primarily use PCs, but Apples can definitely get viruses. So, any of those are very good and qualified and stuff to help you protect your computer.
There's one thing that I've been wondering about, which has now become not a big national, but a big international problem, that's computer hacking. And I never really understood exactly what that meant. What do they really mean when they say they hack your computer?
So hacking basically means when somebody that is not a good person takes over your files, your data, your website, whatever you own, and they're doing either one of a couple things. They're either trying to steal it, they're trying to manipulate it, they're trying to do something with your data, and in the benefit of themselves or somebody else. And it's a new bad guy on the market. Instead of going into your home and taking your stuff, they want to take your data. So whether that be, if it's real high level, like your bank account information or your medical information and stuff like that. And it's unfortunate because there's always bad people out there. And then, there's guys like me that are on the good side that are trying to prevent, things from the bad guys to do. So it's how they do it. They're very skilled at what they do. And the wild thing is they can be anywhere in the world. So it can be some guy in a basement in, I know there's lots of talks of Russia and China and stuff like that. So you don't know where these guys are, and all they really need is a computer and internet access. But they're very skilled, and they, can do, they pretty much can do a lot of things that can hurt people. So that's why guys like me exist, to help combat against that.
I know some of my customers are hesitant to give me certain types of information, for example, like credit card numbers and Social Security numbers and stuff like that sometimes you need. Mm-hmm. Is there any way that you can ensure that you really have this stuff protected, or once you publish it on the internet, you lose control of it?
Well, I wish I could guarantee something like that, but as I just said, Yahoo had 1 billion accounts hacked. So there's no way to really ensure that. Once you send an email, once you publish something online, once you do something digitally, there's unfortunately no way for sure 100% that something cannot happen to it. Now, there are things to do to prevent it, but if you send, for example, you send an email to me and you say, here's my credit card information, and I get it in my email, and if my email, God forbid, got hacked, that hacker could potentially get the email that you sent me. So that's kind of how the methodology and the behind the scenes works. And I understand people are nervous and stuff like that with some security things. And all you can do is you can do what you can do the best. And then, if something happens, you just have to adapt. When a company like Yahoo, I got an email, or I got a letter in the mail from UCLA Medical Center. And they got hacked. They said, we have to let you know our data got hacked, and with client information. So when you're talking big scale companies like that, as an individual or small business owner, you can only do so many preventative measures, and then you can always call someone like me to help you out if something gets really tricky.
Well, that's great. Tell me a favorite story about how you help solve a problem for someone.
Oh, wow. Stories that I could tell. What's a recent one that I had? So I recently set up a small business. It's a landscape design firm here in Los Angeles, and they have 7 computers and 5 or 6 employees, and I'm basically their IT guy. And they've got a lot of moving parts going on. They've got programs like CAD and Photoshop and email and printers and all these kinds of things. So I went in, and they did an office move. Office moves are pretty, they can be very complex because there's a lot of moving parts going on. You have the monitors, you got the printers, you got the computers, and everything like that. So I basically, just a one-man show. I just went in on the weekend and took everything out, put it in my car, moved it to a new office, and they have a big printer, like 20, what is it? It's like 3 feet long because they have to print out these huge plans. And on the diagram was like 2 people setting up this printer. And it was just me that day, and I was like, well, I'm going to have to figure this out. So I just kind of muscled up and figured it out. But those things, doing things like that I really enjoy, and people find value in that. They don't have to think about, when they come in the next day, is their stuff going to be operating and working and stuff like that.
Is what you were referring to as a plotter? Because that's usually what architects and landscape architects use when they print out blueprints that they use to give to their customers.
Yeah, I guess so. That could be the right terminology. It could be a plotter. Yeah, it's way above anything that I understand in that world. So, but they're super nice people, and I've been helping them for a long time. And a lot of things I've been doing too recently with customers is upgrading their internet. So, like I said, a lot of people are still on DSL, which is a technology of like 10 years ago. And so I basically come in and I say, okay, this is what needs to happen. We need to get you off of DSL. We need to get you on the high-speed internet. And when they go on the high-speed internet, do you have high-speed internet? Do you know?
I think so, yeah, because we use a service. I'm in Florida here, and it's basically by AT&T.
Okay.
They claim it's high-speed internet. It's pretty fast. I remember the days of DSL. We also used to have landlines, which made life easier. But now they call it high-speed internet. It's pretty good. It works pretty fast.
Yeah, that's good. As long as you can stream Netflix and videos online and it's not buffering and stopping, then you're on the right internet. But you'd be surprised how many people are still on the old technology.
I believe sometimes when I'm watching a video or a movie or something like that, or like DirecTV, there's some interference or streaming or the Wi-Fi goes down, but that's all part for the course.
Yeah, see, you experience it yourself. The Wi-Fi goes down. When the Wi-Fi goes down, it's no fun.
I know.
But there's ways to solve the Wi-Fi problem. You can get, a new router. New routers they always get better over time. The bandwidth of them do, and the range. If you have a large home or business, the range now is much better than it was 2 or 3 years ago. So you can always get a new router. If you need, if you have a back room in your home, you can get a Wi-Fi range extender. There's lots of different options there that you can help solve those problems. But even if you have one?
Yeah, we did that because in my home we've got a fairly large home, and the routers in the family room in my office where I'm talking now is a fair distance away, and my son went to Best Buy and got, I don't know what he called it, an extender or something like that, and they put in it. It made it a lot better.
Yeah. Yeah, it's pretty cool. And, one side note, too, that I want to let folks know about is if your Wi-Fi does go down for whatever reason on your phone or tablet, not on your computer, but on your phone or tablet, you can turn the Wi-Fi off. And then what will happen is the cell towers around your area will kick into gear. So now you have to keep in mind two things. One, you have to be in an area where you do get, cell reception. And the second thing is you're going to start using your data on your cell phone. So, but if your internet goes down, even if it's your local internet company, if they go down, which they do from time to time, or things aren't working, you can just turn your Wi-Fi off, and then you'll be able to get online and do things.
Oh, that's good to know. One of the biggest things that I worry about is I have a lot of data and email and addresses and phone numbers and correspondence with different people. And I worry about what's the best way to protect it in case the computer just doesn't work anymore, because I've had that where I lost all my data. How do you back it all up so you can protect it?
Yeah, that's a great question. I'm glad you asked that. So you definitely want to have a backup of your data. So all of your data is stored on your hard drive. That's the most important part of the computer. That's where everything is stored. And you can do two different things to back up your data. One, you can do an external hard drive. So you plug, it's about the size of your phone, and they're not expensive. They're like $60 or $80 on Amazon or Best Buy, and basically plug it into your computer via a USB port. And there's, on an Apple, it's called Time Machine. That's the program that you use to do a backup. And then on Windows, it's just a Windows backup. It depends on if you're running 7, 8, or 10, Windows 7, 8, or 10. But it's the same functionality. So you can back up to an external hard drive. And the other option, too, which I highly recommend, is doing an off-site backup. So kind of coming full circle here as talking about the cloud. So you basically back up your data on your local hard drive to the cloud. And there's a program I use, which I love. It's called Crash Plan. It's not expensive. It's $60 a year or $150 for 2 to 10 computers. $60 is one computer. And basically what happens is all of your data on your computer goes to their servers. And if your computer goes down, then you can download all of your information back onto your computer. It's a super convenient, cost-efficient way to save your data. So those are the two ways that you can back up your stuff.
I might be able to use your services myself because my wife had a computer that was about 3 years old, and it was stalling and it wasn't working well. So we went out and bought her a new one, but she wanted to save and transfer all the information from her old computer to the new one because she's got address books and recipes and all kinds of information, and she's having a hard time doing that. Is that something you can do virtually?
Yeah, absolutely. I am helping a customer tomorrow do that over the phone virtually, and then I also have FaceTime. So if, that's a really cool technology that's only 5 years old. So if there's a problem and you're in Florida and I need to tell you something, but I can't see it because it's a plug that you need to plug in somewhere, well, we can just hop on FaceTime and I can see the problem and I can tell you where to plug the plug in. So it's definitely something I can do virtually and on the phone and via FaceTime.
There's a perfect example of how you can help someone from one end of the country to the other.
Exactly. And I mean, that's just so if you think about it, we're living in a day and age where, you can have so much access to people all around. And I think, technology can be used for good or for bad. and when it's used for good, it's one of the coolest things that, you can bring people together from all walks of life and create these amazing opportunities that you couldn't even do 10 or 20 years ago. So it's a really exciting time we're living in.
That's wonderful. I'm going to have her call you because I know she got a new computer, and we went out to Best Buy and bought one of these backups, and she went in a little, USB extension she wants to transfer to, and just can't seem to do it.
Yeah, I know exactly what you're talking about. I know exactly what you're talking about.
So this is a perfect example of what you can do for people. I appreciate it very much. Is there something that people should know, or you'd like to tell them about computers that they probably don't think of that they really need to know in order to make their daily computer experience better? Because it seems like you're spending more and more hours each day in front of the screen.
I would say treat your computer as if it were, your friend. If you get frustrated or angry with it, don't throw it on the ground or throw it out the window, or be kind and gentle to it, because it'll treat you better. And if you do get frustrated, you can always call someone like myself or someone that knows about computers, and they can always help you out. One thing I would recommend doing too is don't have any liquid near your computer, coffee, water, beer, and so forth, because when you get liquid and electronics involved, it's not a good combination. So those are a couple of additional tips.
It's good to know. If people want to use your services, how do they get in touch with you? How do they find out more about you?
Sure. So it's a direct to me email and phone number. My phone number is 310-383-2471. And my email is Matt, M-A-T-T, at Kinzelberg. It's my last name. It's Kinz as in zebra, E-L-B as in boy, E-R-G, consulting.com. So you can call me, you can text me, you can email me. I get back to folks as quickly as I possibly can. And then I'll basically, kind of see what the problem is and see if I'm able to help solve it, and we can kind of take it from there.
Well, that sounds great. I'm sure there are a lot of people who can use your services, and I appreciate it very much. Thank you very much for being on the show. And
thank you very much for having me. I really appreciate the opportunity.
Oh, this is great. And this is Joel Helfer from Main Street Mavericks Radio, wishing you a nice day and telling you, as my father used to say, have a little fun every day. Don't save it up. This is Joel Helfer, Main Street Mavericks Radio. Thanks for listening. Hope you have a great day.
You've been listening to Main Street Mavericks Radio with Joel Helfer. To learn more about the resources mentioned on today's show or listen to past episodes, visit mainstreetmavericks.com.